Hey guys, let's get started with our warm-up. We're gonna start off first with some Frankensteins. Stand nice and tall and kick opposite arm on opposite leg. Try to touch the toe. It's okay if you can't reach it. We're just trying to get a nice stretch in the hamstrings. Next, we have one of my favorites, kneeling arm stretch. Hands and knees on the floor, knees underneath your hips, hands underneath your shoulders. You're gonna raise one arm up to the ceiling, open that chest out, and then loop it underneath the other side. So you're getting a good chest stretch, and then going right into a back stretch. Keep your abs pulled in nice and tight, and hips stay above your knees through this whole movement. Don't rush it, just try to get as good of a stretch as you can. Last, we're going to do child's pose to seal stretch. So start off kneeling, hips go back over the heels, and then tuck your pelvis under, roll those hips forward up to a seal stretch, and bring it back and forth. Try to enjoy the stretch in each position, and then when you bring it forward for a seal stretch, try to bring your hips as close as you can to the floor and shoulders are away from the ears. And it's really important to get that hip pelvis movement into it, rounding the back and slowly unraveling it when you bring it forward and back. For our first circuit, we're going to start off with some goblet squats. Have your feet hip to shoulder width apart. Hold the weight right in the center of your chest. Keep your chest is up and drop your butt down. Drive through the floor with your heels. Squeeze your butt on the way up. So you see my knees don't pass my toes and my butt goes back, but I'm still keeping my chest up, shoulders back. Next are some stagger hand push-ups. So get into a push-up position. One hand is in front of your shoulder, one hand slightly behind, and you're gonna go down into your push-up and switch hands at the top. Make sure your pelvis is tucked under, abs are braced. You're gonna try to balance yourself in this position. And then if it's not working in the regular push-up position, feel free to drop your knees to the floor, still keeping that pelvis tucked under, abs engaged, rib cage pulled in, and lower yourself as much as you can, keeping everything in line. Last in this circuit are elevated reverse jackknives. So you lay on your back, legs are straight up, lift those hips off the ground and try just chop your legs down and up. Keep those hips elevated, arms are pressing into the ground. Really use that core. And if that's too difficult, just do regular reverse crunches minus the elevated jackknife. And just tuck your pelvis under, lift those hips up off the ground. And if that's too difficult, bend those knees in, still tuck the pelvis under, and pull those knees into your chest. For our next circuit, we'll do single leg RDLs. Stand on one leg and just hinge at the hip. Squeeze your butt on the way up. That standing leg, the knee is soft, so you don't want it locked out. Keep your abs in nice and tight. Look straight ahead. And if it's too difficult to balance on one foot, tap your back toe onto the ground and still hinge at your hips and squeeze your butt up. So you're doing the same form, just keeping that back toe onto the floor. It helps you balance a bit. We're gonna follow those up with a renegade row. So grab your dumbbells, top of a plank position, and you're gonna squeeze your elbow up towards the ceiling, squeeze that shoulder blade into your back. Keep that pelvis tucked under, abs nice and tight, and go side to side. You could also place your hands on the floor and just alternately pick up the dumbbell if it's hurting your hands. You could also do the same thing with your knees onto the ground for a more modified position. Still keep that pelvis tucked under and core engaged. We're finishing this circuit up with star sit-ups. Lay on your back, legs are straight out, mat width apart, arms are straight back, mat width apart. Lift your opposite arm to opposite leg. Breathe out on the way up and just try to shoot it straight up. And then roll your spine back down. We don't want to plop your back down. Now, if you cannot reach your foot, it's okay if you can just go ahead and reach for your knee. Same format, keeping that core nice and tight. Good. For this third circuit, we're going to start off with Bulgarian split squats. So you could grab a step and your dumbbells and just place your foot on the step or your couch, whatever you have, and do a lunge. So you want your feet far enough apart so that you're able to get a good range of motion with your legs bending down without your front heel lifting off the floor or without your knee passing your toe. Keep that core nice and tight and good posture the whole way. And then you just switch legs. So try to stay balanced. If you're having a hard time keeping your foot on the step, then you can place your foot onto the floor and still just do a stationary lunge down and up, still keeping your posture in nice and tight and knee does not pass the toes. Next are down dog to shoulder taps. So you're gonna be in a plank position. Bring your hips back over your heels as much as you can for a down dog, and then tuck your pelvis under, roll it forward to a top of a push-up position. And then from there, you're going to tap your opposite hand to opposite shoulder, keeping your pelvis nice and steady. So when you bring your hips back for the down dog, try to dig those heels into the ground, getting a nice stretch in the back of your legs and in your calves too, dropping your chest to the floor. And then when you move it forward, tuck the pelvis under and round the back, bring it forward. You could also do this on your knees. So when you round your back, bringing it forward, drop your knees to the floor, still doing the shoulder taps and still keeping your core engaged. Now we're going to top this circuit off with dumbbell knee tuck crunches. So grab a dumbbell in your hands, legs are out, and then crunch it up. Bring your knees in and try to bring the weight over your knees and just crunch in. Keep that lower back close to the ground. Brace that core, chin away from the chest. Breathe out on the way up. Breathe in on the way down without arching your back. And then if it's too difficult doing it that way, you can alternate by lifting one foot up at a time. Now your active recovery for all of those circuits is going to be straight leg sit-ups. So lay on your back, reach your arms back and roll it up and try to reach your toes. Roll it back down. So as you're rolling up and rolling back down, articulate that spine. Peel the spine off one vertebrae at a time, and then as you roll down, press it into the floor one vertebrae at a time. Keep those abs nice and tight. Now we're getting into our AMRAP. So we're going to start off with heel elevated squats, front squats. So you can grab either a pair of weight plates or I'm using some dumbbells. Hold the weight right in front like we did for the goblet squats, and then drop your butt down, squeeze your butt on the way up. Working it this way works more of the front of your thighs, your quads, by having your heels elevated. So it's going to feel a little bit different from those goblet squats that we did in the beginning. Keep those abs nice and tight. Next is a sit to a broad jump. So grab a step or your couch, whatever you have, and you're going to lift up spring forward, land in a steady squat, walk it back, and start over. Keep that core tight, and it's gonna feel a little weird going from a sitting position to a dynamic one, springing forward. Do the best that you can. And if you need to modify this one, you can do monster squat walks instead. Third, we have Spider-Man push-ups. So get in your top of a push-up position, tuck your pelvis under, and then as you lower down into your push-up, bring your knee to the outside of your elbow, that same side. Good. And keep those abs nice and tight. A modified version, bring your knees to the floor, then come back up to a plank and bring your knees one at a time to the outside of your elbow. Now we have some T-hold crunches. So grab a light dumbbell for this one. Balance on one foot, extend your arms and legs out, and just crunch in. Pull your knee in to your chest and bring the weight over the knee. So you're gonna do the reps on each side. If this is a little bit too hard to balance, you can place that back foot on the ground and then just from the ground, crunch that knee in and dumbbell in at the same time. Lastly, we have some half Turkish get-ups. So you can grab a dumbbell, not too heavy, lay on your back, and then you're gonna have your one arm up, and that same knee is gonna be bent on that same side that your arm is up. And then you're going to lift your arm, head, shoulders, and then drive the hips up. This is really great work for the abs. Keep the other leg straight. And if it's too difficult to lift those hips up, then you can just do the half of that where you just crunch up at the waist and lower it down. And as always, be mindful of your core and that you're not just flopping up and down to hurt your back. Bye, enjoy.